Back at it again, and oh boy. Things are going to get real interesting here shortly, and I think it's important that we discuss what's happened recently. Like, share, comment, hit that subscribe button if you are new. If you would like to help me out even further with this YouTube algorithm too, watch this video until the very end. It helps out tremendously. With that being said, let's dive in.
Either Joe Biden is the most clever person in the world and did nothing wrong, or he's the dumbest, did something wrong, and bragged about it in 2018. Take a listen here.
I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Now, as the investigation by David Weiss goes deeper into the Hunter Biden business dealings overseas, is that going to possibly get him in trouble?
Well, it remains to be seen if David Weiss's investigation is going deeper on anything, because he seems to not want to investigate or prosecute anyone named Biden, and we'll see if that changes. I'm skeptical. I think it's important to remember that not only did Joe Biden want that prosecutor who Brian has on, and we were talking about this in the break, Brian Kilmeade, big get for him coming up in the next hour, this Shokin interview. It is wild that no one has talked to this man, given his significance on this issue. We've known about it for years at this point. But it wasn't just Joe Biden who successfully used U.S. foreign policy levers to get this man fired and wanted this man fired. The people paying Joe Biden's son Hunter $1 million a year for no apparent reason, they wanted this man fired, and they got their wish, knowing that they were employing the son of the big guy who then swooped in and got the deal done. Whether that is evidence, rock solid evidence or lockdown evidence of bribery, we're not quite there in that final link. But there is this document that the FBI had and buried for a while, where one of their confidential, trusted informants says that's exactly what happened. That's the allegation. And some of the other claims from that document have been corroborated by the FBI and others. So this is absolutely legitimate and an active question. And frankly, everyone in the media should be following it and chasing it down. And of course, that's not the case in most cases, I would say.
It's great.
Oh boy. Now, you guys remember the image of that individual that was put up on the screen? Well, apparently he's done an interview recently and talked about the entire situation that went down with him being fired. You know, the one that Joe Biden was bragging about. You know, I'm only here for another 6 hours, and if he's not fired, you're not getting the money. And then all of a sudden, he was fired. Now, you know, I find it funny that if this had been Uncle Trump, he would have been guilty from the moment that that anybody whispered about any other stuff. I mean, y'all remember Russia, Russia, Russia? He was guilty the moment anybody said anything. But of course, now all of a sudden, Joe Biden gets the benefit of the doubt. Kind of interesting how that works.
Victor Shokin joins me for a One Nation exclusive. Watch.
The man himself.
Why were you fired from your position by President Poroshenko?
I have said repeatedly in my previous interviews that Poroshenko fired me at the insistence of the then Vice President Biden because I was investigating Burisma.
So did President Poroshenko tell you that he wanted you to stay on the job, but there was pressure from Vice President Biden?
You understood me correctly. This is how it was. There were no complaints whatsoever, no problems with how I was performing at my job. But because pressure was repeatedly put on President Poroshenko, that is what ended up in him firing me.
What are your thoughts when you saw the tape of Vice President Biden speaking to the Council on Foreign Relations, saying you had 6 hours to fire you or you're not going to get the $1 billion?
Not only the position of President Poroshenko, the office of President Poroshenko was humiliated, but the entire country of Ukraine was humiliated. And I developed a very firm understanding of the fact that the Vice President was only acting in his own interests. He, generally speaking, handled Ukraine like it was his own backyard. He would put people that were suitable for him. He would arrange for them to be put in certain positions.
Why were you looking into Burisma?
The reason I oversaw the Burisma case was because I was the prosecutor general. Burisma was an ordinary case. There wasn't anything particularly different about it. The reason that I was handling it was because it deserved a special mention. It was on a list of cases to merit special attention because Hunter Biden was involved with Burisma, and of course his father, the vice president, Biden at the time, oversaw Ukraine affairs for the White House. This is why.
Understood. Do you believe they were up to no good? Were they up to doing something corrupt with Burisma? Was the company of Burisma corrupt, as been alleged, in which since has been disbanded?
I have no doubt that there were illegal activities engaged in by Burisma. As a matter of fact, the criminal case had been started before me. It continued to expand, and Zlochevsky, who at the time held the post of minister and was the founder and CEO of Burisma, started bringing in people who could provide protection for him. Hunter Biden was among them. And the corruption network expanded as a result. So, yes, to answer your question, there's no doubt in my mind that Burisma was engaged in illegal activities.
Devin Archer said you were a threat to Burisma. Do you agree?
Да, согласен.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Why? Because you were going to find out what they were up to?
Because he understood, and so did Vice President Biden, that had I continued to oversee the Burisma investigation, we would have found the facts about the corrupt activities that they were engaging in that included both Hunter Biden and Devin Archer and others.
What corrupt activities did you suspect they were engaged in?
Oh boy.
It would take half a day for me to discuss every single count, but I can say that Burisma illegally produced, sold, and utilized gas. Zlochevsky, the founder of Burisma, recently made a plea deal with the prosecution in a case where he was accused of giving a $6 million bribe, which is the kind of money that you don't just give away if you're not really engaging in anything illegal. So his plea deal was to cover up a $6 million bribe that he gave earlier.
Do you believe that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden got bribes?
I do not want to deal in unproven facts, but my firm personal conviction is that yes, this was the case. They were being bribed. The fact that Joe Biden gave away $1 billion in U.S. money in exchange for my dismissal, my firing, isn't that alone a case of corruption?
The New York Times.
Straight from the man's mouth himself. Now, once again, I think Republicans have to be careful with this and slow walk this, in my humble opinion, because I want Joe on that ticket. I don't want anybody else. I don't want Michelle or Gavin Newsom or anybody else that plans on taking over that position. Not at all. I want Joe Biden. I want him and his policies and his rhetoric and everything else that comes with Joe Biden, his depends and everything. Okay. But, everything that comes with Joe Biden, I want him on that ticket in 2024. And in order for that to happen, you can't move this too quickly. You can't throw him under the bus, or expose him too much too fast, right? There has to be some strategy involved with this, and I'll maintain that opinion until I hear something that tells me otherwise that makes a whole lot of sense. But it doesn't make sense to me to really expose him a whole lot now. That doesn't make sense to me, because if he has to step down now you have a stronger opponent, which obviously Joe is a very, very weak opponent. in terms of a presidential candidate. But you put Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom, I very strongly believe they're stronger opponents than Joe Biden. I mean, everybody sees Joe Biden for what he is now at this point, and yeah, I mean, he's down the toilet pretty much already. So I hope Republicans use some strategy in this, the same way that Democrats use strategy in, weaponizing all of this crap against Uncle Trump, right? There's strategy involved. They could have brought a lot of these charges years ago. They waited until now to do it, right? In my personal opinion, they tried to time it out so that the trials and possible convictions would happen right before the election, so he couldn't be on a ticket, or it would be super fresh in people's minds. Obviously, if they waited until too late, then people would be like, well, I mean, he's just indicted. Nothing has happened, But that's just my humble opinion. I could be wrong. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comment section. As far as Joe, though, I don't want him to be convicted. Not yet. Not yet. Not until after the election. Then convict him of everything he's been guilty of. Every single thing him and his family has been guilty of. Every single thing. But yeah, y'all let me know your thoughts and your opinions on that in the comment section. Let's continue on though.
Rights. On this year's office, Shokin became a symbol of Ukraine's deeply ingrained culture of corruption. Wall Street Journal, something similar. Washington Post, something similar. What do you say to people who say it's you that are corrupt and that Joe Biden did the right thing making sure you were fired?
I would appreciate if any of these highly respectable publications could come up with a single instance or a single example of my personal corruption or any offense whatsoever allegedly committed by me.
Prove it.
Why don't you sue then? Why don't you sue these publications for defamation?
I would gladly do that, but suing somebody costs money, and I simply don't have the money to do that because I'm a retiree and my monthly pension constitutes the equivalent of $800.
Has this damaged America's reputation in Ukraine?
There is no doubt that his actions have damaged the U.S. reputation in Ukraine. It is public knowledge. Everybody knows that it was because of Joe Biden's actions that Russia was able to claim Crimea without firing a single shot, which of course eventually led to a full-scale war that is currently underway. And I do talk about this in my book. But yes, the damage has been done, definitely. I have long been concerned about my personal safety and security. And I've already died technically twice as I was poisoned with mercury.
Victor Shokin, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Look forward to reading your book.
What are y'all thinking? What are y'all thinking? Straight from the mouth of him himself. He said, hey, if you think I'm corrupt, prove it. Show me. Where was I corrupt? And, I got to respect that, because if you're going to make such a claim, you got to prove it. Back it up. Back it up. Don't just be out here, bumping your gums, giving a bunch of lip service. Prove it. And, I've had that discussion with folks as well, where, they'll make a statement about, Uncle Trump or something, and they'll say like he's racist or something like that. And I'm like, what? Prove it. Prove it. I'll bet you can't. I'll bet you that you can't. And of course, nobody ever has to this point. And maybe at some point in time, someday, somebody comes out with some type of evidence, or slight bit of evidence that Trump is a racist, right? I don't think, one little tidbit of evidence could prove that someone is racist. In my humble opinion, but maybe one day somebody comes up with something, but to this day, nobody has. And that's the recurring theme with a lot of these folks, especially on the left. They never have any evidence to back up any of their claims or their statements, right? It's just a bunch of gum bumping. That's all it is. It's a bunch of lip service. Nothing else. Nothing more. Lip service. Prove it. Prove it. If you think the guy is corrupt, prove it. Show me. And y'all know me. Like, I'm open to being wrong. I know that I'm not right about everything in life, being wrong, you're going to be wrong. That's okay. I'm fine with that. I'm not one of those people who I have to be right about everything, you know? Like, no, that's not me. I know that I can be wrong at any moment in time, but prove it. And if you prove it to me, okay, I'll admit, okay, yeah, you got it. I was wrong. But until then, this is just nonsense. This is foolishness. And yeah, I think the walls are really closing in on Biden, man. I think they are truly closing in. I mean, you have things all over the place, and I truly don't know how he gets out of this. I really don't. With everything being put out there, and it'd be one thing if it was like still behind closed doors, you know, you didn't have whistleblowers, you didn't have, you know, eyewitnesses, you didn't have the prosecutor that he allegedly did this to, you know, speaking out, you know, it would be one thing if you didn't have all of these individuals, but now that you do, and they're telling their story, and they're speaking, you know, their truth or whatever out in the open, I don't see how he wiggles himself out of this one. But maybe I'm wrong. Y'all let me know in the comment section below. Like, share, comment. Hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.